It's all about season 2 of Road to Success, The Journey, a feature inside the easy skanking that is geared to inspire, uplift, educate, motivate, and entertain. Today on the Road to Success, we journey with Mr. Richard Byles. Now, Mr. Richard Owen Byles is the governor of the Bank of Jamaica, BOJ. Prior to joining the bank, Governor Byles has had a career spanning over 40 years in the private sector in the areas of business and finance, and is one of the most accomplished corporate leaders of his generation. He has served as council member at the University of the West Indies, vice president of the private sector organization of Jamaica, and on many company boards. Mr. Byles holds a Bachelor of Science in Economics from the University of the West Indies, Mona, and a Master of Science in National Development from the University of Bradford, England. Today, we are honored to journey with Mr. Richard Byles on the road to success. Mr. Byles, welcome, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us.
Good morning, Kashima. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right. Now, let us just begin with the foundation in Kingston Gardens. Describe for us the household and the principles on which you grew up.
Oh, well, you know, when I reflect on it, I would say there are a few, maybe three principles that I can clearly remember my mother and father drilling into me. Number one is respect. Respect everyone. If you're a human being, no matter what your status in life is, respect that person. They are no better or worse than you. And that has lived with me throughout my life, no matter what the station of my life has been, whether I was a young graduate or schoolboy or an accomplished business leader. The second is that education is vitally important. And my father in particular always hammered home to me, you have to get a good education. You must go to university. And in those days, because you told them that I was around 40 years in business, so they know that I'm not so young. In those days, going to university was a real option. It wasn't a necessity like it is nowadays. So my father drilled into me, you have to go to university. And then finally, I would say I always had to work for my pocket money. I was never given money to go to the movies or, do what I wished. I always, every summer and every Christmas, I had a job, whether it was at Grace Kennedy or at Woolworth. I always had to go somewhere and work to earn money for me to spend. Maybe around the yard, raking up the leaves, washing the car. That was always a principle. You do the work, you get paid. And I think that those have stayed with me right throughout my life. And I'm not shy to work. I work very hard, very long hours. Less so now maybe than in the days when I was in the private sector. But still, I'm very committed to doing the job, putting in the work.
Wow. And those are awesome principles and really solid foundation on which to stand on. Now, let us just take it now to your time at the Jamaica College. How would you describe yourself as a student at JC?
My days at JC were very, I look on them very fondly. Many of the people that I went to JC with, I'm still in touch with them. They are still good friends of mine. JC in my day gave a good education, and so I was a beneficiary of that system. And I think that Jamaica College represented many of the principles that my parents tried to instill in me. You need to work, respect everybody, and education, you need to value it. So I have many fond memories of that school, and still have a lot of friends that I went to school with there.
No, my research shows that growing up, you were influenced by the Black Power movement in 1963. Take us back to that period, and what exactly was it that piqued your interest?
Well, I don't think it was as early as 1963, more like
The
about
60s.
67, 68 when I was in sixth form, first level of sixth form. But that was the time of the Walter Rodney movement and the riots. And let me say, no young person at that time was not impacted by the Black Power movement. It was just a natural mass movement that everybody, most people, I should say, welcomed and got involved with. And when I was at Jamaica College in sixth form, we had a lecturer from University of the West Indies who taught us English literature. And we would often listen to him, and he would say what's happening on the campus and Walter Rodney. And through that, I developed a strong interest in it. And when I went to university a year and a half later, I grew myself a big afro, and I was very much involved
I can't see
in
that.
that progressive movement. You know, if you are 18 or 20 or 21 and you are not attuned to social injustice, then something is wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
If later on in life you're still, this is what they say, if later on in life you're still fighting in that struggle and not trying to build a life for your family and yourself, then you need to rebalance your life. And so I think that I went through that process of being very involved in the fight against social injustice, and then focusing on my career. A little late. It wasn't until I was 31 years old that I went
Wow.
and did my postgrad and became re-involved in building my career.
Wow. So and then after the university, no, you worked for the government for 10 years. Why
Yes.
did you retreat from politics and ended up in the stock market?
Well, I think it's maybe a natural process of growing. I got married. I had a kid, a son. Um, I did the postgraduate studies, became very interested in development economics, and then got involved in the stock market, made some investments, became successful in doing that, and gradually focused a lot more attention on that, building out my family and providing for them, and getting more and more involved in the stock market, almost like a natural progression.
Wow. So even getting started at 31, did you have, your parents at that time saying to you, Richard Boyd, do you know exactly what you want, or, try to help you with your direction? What was that conversation like? And I know a lot of persons looking at your journey, they probably wouldn't think that, at 31, that's when you actually got started.
Yes, and one of my regrets, so to speak, is that my mom didn't live to see her one son
Wow.
um, really settle down in life and build a family and become, if I could say, responsible, financially. But my father did, and he was immensely proud, and I know that my mother would be too. She always looked out for me at the university. She had spies, people who she knew that worked there, and they would tell her what I was up to. So she always, looked out for me. That's how mothers are.
Mm-hmm.
But they were very proud of me, the one son, and I hope I returned that pride that they had in me at some point.
Now, share with us a defining moment on your journey when you were given a life changing opportunity that has helped to shape the man you have become.
Well, there are a couple of people in my life journey that were very important, had an important impact on me. One of them is Rita Humphreys. Rita is the founder of Barita Investments. And back in the day when she had just started it, or just before she started it, I worked with her at a government company called GIDC. And we developed a mutual respect. And when she started Burrito, she said to me, Richard, you need to not work in government, but in the private sector, because to fulfill your potential, that's where you need to be. And those words stuck with me. And after a couple of years, I joined her at Burrito for a very brief period. And whilst there, I actually met Maurice Facey. Actually, I went to do an interview of Maurice Facey about his company, Pan Jamaican Investments. And right at the end of that interview, Maurice offered me a job to run the very small merchant bank that he had in the group. And I think that both Rita saying to me, you need to work in the private sector, and then Maurice offering me the job to work with Panjam, which I eventually took, were really life-changing moments for me, because I spent 13 years at Panjam, and I headed up the merchant bank, and then Maurice promoted me to head up the whole group. And I was head of that whole group for 10 years. And it was a successful period for Panjam and a very life-changing moment for me.
Right. And life changing indeed, because your career basically just skyrocketed from that point and continued to climb. After Panjam, you later became president and CEO of Sagicor, a business that is profitable but also friendly with customers. My research reveals that, the people who work with you likes working with you. So what's your secret sauce?
I noticed you say you have researched me.
I had to.
So just like my mother had spies at UAE, you have spies somewhere in
Guilty.
Sagicor or Bank of Jamaica. Well, look, uh, for me, I would very easily and happily say whatever I achieved both at Panjam and at Sagicor was because of the team that I worked with. I could not have done what was accomplished on my own. And I don't mean just that, I need people to work with, but they contributed to decisions and to successes that we had. That's how I am. I like to work with a team. I always like to have people around me that know more about certain aspects of the business than I do. I don't think I can be a master in every aspect of the business. Somebody must know more about marketing than me. Somebody must know more about actuarial science than me. Somebody must know more about banking than me. And I'll sit in the center and give some strategic direction, listen and be the policeman to kind of direct traffic and set a goal for us. And that's how I like to work with teams. And at Sagicor, that was particularly the case. And I remain on good terms and friends with the people that I've worked with over all these years. Because I found that to realize my goal, I have to realize their goals too. And so long as we're synchronized in the goals that we want to achieve, um, it works. Teamwork is far more productive than being, the leader, the head honcho, the do it my way or the highway kind of person.
Mhm.
And I cling to those views even today.
And that is so crucial and vital, especially in the generation now, because here it is, you're explaining leading from behind when you have conversations or hear some of our young people or even, people in your position, they will want that boss title just to be the leader. And how critical and crucial is this to the success of a business, just to be the know-it-all and to be the head and let everyone know that you are leading?
Well, success breeds respect.
Mm.
And I think that is what happens. You can't impose respect. You have to win it, and once you set on a path and you direct people in the right way and you achieve, then people start to respect that. Because I've had the experience of when I just went to Sagicor, not everybody believed that I was the right person. But after a while, people said, well, maybe, and then after a little more time, yeah, sure. And that's what you have to do, win the respect of people by achieving.
Mm-hmm. Now, good customer service starts with, the team that is behind it, which, you would have also alluded to. However, many places in Jamaica have an issue when it comes to, good customer service. In your experience, how can businesses, big or small, achieve good customer service and a team that is enthusiastic to get the job done?
You have to really believe, you as the CEO, you have to really understand and believe the need for good customer service. You have to know that the road to success for your business is in good customer service. And then you have to inspire the rest of your team to buy into that vision and to live it day after day. And you have to give them the tools to do it. You can't just, tell them to go and do it. Whatever tools they need, whether it is technical tools or it is training, you have to provide it. So once you are committed and serious and you inspire and you provide the tools, I think you can achieve it. It takes a little while because oftentimes it requires a change in culture for some people. It's natural for some, for others, not so natural. And you have to find the round pegs to go in the round holes and the square pegs to go in the square holes.
Mm-hmm.
So pick your right persons, train them, give them the tools, you will achieve it.
Rewards and recognition. How important is this in the workforce?
Vital, vital. Everybody wants to achieve materially, and everybody wants to be recognized for success. So you have to do both. There are limits to how you can reward materially in different situations. There are some companies that can afford to give very big bonuses or recognitions, financial recognition, and there are others that can't. But so long as you try your best and it is an incentive to persons, they will value it. So if you have a goal to achieve, attach a material incentive to it and live up to it. If people achieve that objective, don't be mean. Give them what you promised. At the
Mm-hmm.
same time, recognition, I find people value that very highly. That their peers see them as somebody who has achieved is really very important to them. And so I would say that it is not good enough to just give a material reward. You need to give recognition to somebody who has achieved.
Now, as you navigate your career path from Panjam to Sagicor and now governor of the Bank of Jamaica, what was your distinguishing quality that helped you to accelerate up the corporate ladder?
I think, I don't know. Let me tell you, I watch a lot of Tiger Woods playing golf.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as great as Tiger is, every time he's playing golf, what he focuses on at the moment is a shot that he has to make. So no matter whether it's day 1, 2, 3, or 4, no matter whether he's on hole 1 to 18, all he's focused on right now is what is the shot that I have to make right now. He's not thinking of the glory of winning. He's not thinking of the cup, nothing. And in a way, that's how I am. In every job I've been in, whatever is important to be executed now, I throw my heart into it. Everything goes to bringing that home, making it successful. And I found that as you achieve these smaller steps, it builds into being recognized as achieving something bigger. And it builds into a thing that people call good luck. Because what happens is that people look on and see the successes that you are making, and they want to embrace you. And that is what we call good luck. They come looking for you. And, you know, there is another opportunity, another door that opens up for you.
But, you know, all your jobs are, you know, high profile positions and, you know, comes with high risk. Have you ever made an error on the job, and how did you rectify that?
Yes, of course. I've made personal investments that are not as successful as I'd like them to be. And in business, I've made decisions that haven't turned out to be as I would like them to have been. I mean, that's just human, you know, and anyone who doesn't recognize that is selling you a story. So, yeah, I mean, I think that is just natural. Important thing, though, is that you have many more successes than the few failures that you have. And the successes are far more valuable than the cost of the mistakes that you have made.
A quote from Richard Byles: "When opportunity knocks, go for it immediately and go for it to win." How
Yes.
do you find the transition from public to private sector?
Yeah, and so that's interesting. You know, I really believe in that you need to be receptive to opportunity. Um, there are many twists and turns in my life that I didn't expect, I didn't project, I didn't go for. They presented themselves, and happily I took them. So when Morris Facey offered me the job, it's not that I was without a job, I was. And he was saying to me, come and run my merchant bank. I'd never run a bank before. So it was a big challenge, you know. Am I daunted by it, or am I going to see it as an opportunity and take it? And I took it. I saw it as an opportunity and did it, and it worked out well for me. When he offered me to run the whole group, again, you know, unexpected, it's opportunity. I took it. And then when you know, the Life of Jamaica opportunity came along, the Sagicor opportunity, I had never really run or been an insurance man. And I did stop and think to myself, is this something that I really would be comfortable doing and liking? And having said, yes, it's opportunity, let me take it. I learned it and I grew to love it, and been pretty successful in it. Similarly, driving one morning as chairman of Sagicor to Sagicor, somebody calls me and says, we want you to think about being governor of the Bank of Jamaica. At first, I said, listen, I'm retired. I'm done. Don't be crazy. But then I thought about it, and I said, you know, that's really a very interesting opportunity. I like working for the country. I started out, my studies are in economics. I started out working for the country through the government agencies, went to private sector, and now here is a knocking, a calling, saying, would you like to come back? And I said, after discussing it with my wife, yes, I'd like to do that. And so I'm here again, opportunity knocking. And I can say after nearly 2 years here at the bank, that I'm very happy that I took it. It's a very fulfilling experience. The guys who are here and the women who are here working, all of the technical persons, they are great. They're very supportive of me. They're very talented. And I find it to be a work environment that is really, really very exciting and interesting. And I don't regret for a moment that I'm here.
But how do you know though, Mr. Byles? Because you know a lot of persons they want that
Yeah.
job security, they want that safety net, and sometimes the opportunities it is stepping into the unknown. For persons who are a little hesitant when opportunity knocks, and you know you make it sound so easy, and you know you challenge yourself and you're doing it, but the reality is, you know, that fear sometimes hold people back. How should those persons proceed and view opportunities?
I can only speak for myself, and it's very much a kind of gut reaction. How do I feel about this opportunity? Am I excited by it? I think that really is what does it for me. Is it something that I can be really motivated about? Something that I can sink my teeth into? That does it for me. I don't need to really know much more than that. And I've never taken a job on the basis of money. It's always been on the basis of, do I like it and am I excited by it?
Wow. Now you mentioned economics earlier, and that is, you know, your background. Through financial reports, you know, economics will sometimes say, according to statistics, you know, there is economic growth or the economy is booming. However, the average man and woman sometimes may say otherwise due to their reality. Help us to understand the macroeconomics.
Right. So when you look on Jamaica, 3 million people. Everybody's life is different, and so some people may feel the growth and the success more than others do, and it is a challenge to economists and leaders of the country to make everybody participate in success of the economy. And it's a big challenge for us to make the economy grow so much that everybody feels it. What we have been having over the last 7, 8 years is growth that is positive but very small, and it is hard to feel the growth when the growth is so small. So we have to really sit down and say, how can we crack this low growth phenomena that has dogged Jamaica for so long? Because we have done so many things that are right. We have made so many sacrifices in the last 7, 8 years, and still we have this low growth. I think it wants some fundamental rethinking of what it will take to get Jamaica on a growth path that is more substantial, 4%, 5% or more.
And you know, when thinking even about creating a better life or to attain success, some people often look to other countries as opposed to looking right here in Jamaica. Do you think Jamaica is doing enough to say foster entrepreneurship?
I think there are lots of opportunities there, and we certainly talk the talk about fostering it. I think we need more than that, however. In my view, Jamaica wants a lot of investment in human capital. And by that I mean preparing Jamaicans to really be able to add more value in the job they are doing. All right. So if you think, what is a typical job in Jamaica? It's maybe being working in a hotel, let's say, for example. There is a limit to the value that job can give, whether you are in housekeeping or in the bartendering or food and beverage. But if those same Jamaicans were more trained and could take on bigger jobs, then you would find that not only would they be better off, but so would the whole country, because the value they're adding is greater in that more technically prepared job than, say, working in a hotel. And that's what I think we have to do. But it's not a one-year program. You have to invest in education decade after decade after decade. Right? But you will see the fruits of it. After a while, all those graduates that are coming out that are more highly trained in jobs that command more value added, because you can be trained in stuff that the market doesn't want.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to be trained in jobs that the market wants. And we'll find that Jamaica will grow more rapidly, I think, once we commit to that long-term program of investing in education. Because when you think of it, we don't have any really big natural resource, bauxite, but that's playing out now. Price of aluminum too low. Jamaica, there are many other countries that have more bauxite than us. We don't have the energy to make it into aluminum, right? Cheap energy. So our people are our biggest resource.
Mm-hmm.
Just like if you think of a factory, you want to make a factory more productive, you introduce more sophisticated machinery and technology and automation. Same thing you have to do with our people. You have to invest in them so that they become more productive.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of in investment, Mr. Byles, a lot of local businesses, are owned by foreigners. What can the Jamaican government do to, say, encourage local investors to get involved?
Well, I would like to see a lot more companies go on the stock market, so that Jamaicans can own a piece of it. Um, but I think apart from that, Jamaican capital needs to look at investing in the country more. A lot of capital is looking outside of the country. We need to ask ourselves the question, why is that so? Why can't we look more inside the country and find opportunity? And I'm hoping that we will see more of that in the near future, where investments in businesses locally become available to entrepreneurs, investors, you and I, that we can put our money in there and own a piece of it. The
Mm-hmm.
government attempt to sell some of the assets that it owns was very successful, the highway and other assets. And I think that once we get over this COVID setback, we will see more of that come into the market.
And speaking of money, I really couldn't have you on and not, get your input on this. But I know like a lot of people are worried about the sliding dollar. Why does it seem so difficult to perhaps, stabilize the US dollar at the moment?
Well, I mean, the dollar has not moved that much really if you look at it over a period of time, let's say over a 1 year period. But nonetheless, we are in a serious economic crisis. Remember, the industry that earned us the most gross foreign exchange, tourism, has been down last year, ran at about 30% capacity. So you would understand that in that environment, holding the exchange rate is not as easy as it might have been in other years. But happily, we see tourism coming back, and remittances have, over the last year, stepped up and helped a lot to meet our demands for foreign exchange. But the foreign exchange, the price of the US dollar to a Jamaican is really determined by supply and demand. Right? And if we keep demanding more than the supply, the price will move up. If we can have businesses that supply foreign currency more to the market to meet demand, then we'll see that there is greater stability in it.
Now, you also mentioned the COVID pandemic earlier, and COVID has basically forced the world to think outside the box. Even the average Jamaican is exploring uncharted waters such as stocks and the local trading, forex trade. What are the basic knowledge the average person should equip themselves with to attain success at trading? I guess we can call it Forex 101 with Mr. Byles.
Well, I mean, trading foreign exchange is one thing, but trading in stocks is another thing. In either case, however, uh, people need to apply themselves and try to understand what drives the market. I mean, if you want to invest in stocks, try to know as much as you can about the companies. You know, what makes them tick, what drives growth for them, who is leading it, what is their strategic direction, what has their performance been like over the past, what is the ratio of their price on the market to the earnings that they make every year. And on that basis, make your decision. Or you can rely on somebody else to advise you on it, for which you pay a fee. You can get an advisor, or you can buy mutual funds. So you buy a fund and buy into a fund, and the fund has its management that will make those decisions for you. They charge you a little fee, but you're getting very good expert advice. So I would say for somebody who is venturing into that market for the first time, maybe you want to avoid buying an individual stock and you want to buy a mutual fund or you want to buy an exchange traded fund where experts are buying the stocks for you and you are riding on their knowledge. Uh, your return may be a little less than if you bought a really winning stock, but it's safer. And
Mhm.
I would say that that is my advice to a new investor.
Now, you have done so much and at the highest level. Out of all of your accomplishments, what would you say you're most proud of?
Hmm, I don't know that I can put my finger on any one thing, except to say what is really important to me is that if I am walking on the street or I go somewhere and somebody recognizes me, that they see me as a good person, as a person
Mm,
who has done positive things. It's really very important to me. I shudder at the thought of people having a bad impression of me, that I, did something wrong. Um, I, I couldn't live with that. So my reputation is and my dignity is number one in importance to me. And so I would say that over all of those years, the fact that when I do see people and they say hello, people that I don't know, that they have a pretty positive view of me is really, really very satisfying. And if I was to say what satisfies me the most, I would say it's that. It's not
mhm,
anything else. It's my
mhm.
dignity and the kind of affection that many people express to me.
So, with the International Monetary Fund (IMF) agreement, that was like a controversial topic for some Jamaicans who, weren't afraid to express, their disapproval as per se. As somebody who was so close to the project, did you pay attention to like the concerns and were you bothered by the criticisms? Just hearing you say, like getting that respect from the people and how you're perceived, it means so much to you. During that period, were you bothered by criticisms or did you pay attention to it?
Right. So the IMF program was something that Jamaica knew they had to do, but never did in the past. We always found a way to get away from doing those tough things. But it's something we had to do. And knowing that made me understand that there was no alternative for us. And from that point of view, I was from the very beginning very committed to working with that program. When I became the co-chair of the Economic Program Oversight Committee, that was a separate challenge. And really what I was doing was putting myself out there as the interface between the public and the program and the government that was executing the program. I don't think that I, at the moment, thought about the risk involved in what if this program failed, because I just had in my mind it couldn't fail. We had to do it. Otherwise, Jamaica was going to really be bankrupt. So maybe I was a little blindsided by my commitment and didn't fully recognize the risk I was running by putting myself forward. But I think looking back, I'm very happy that it worked out that way for Jamaica. And I'm very proud of that period of my co-chairmanship of EPOC.
Dedication, hard work, commitment. These are things that you talk about. In all we do, balance is imperative. How do you balance your work life and your family life?
Well, my wife will tell you maybe not as good as it should be balanced. But she understands that, my work life is vitally important to me. So even after I retired, that I went back to work for Bank of Jamaica and the country, she understands why. She knows that I can't just sit down at home. Work is everything to me. And if I were to say how I'd like to live out the rest of my life, is to always have something that inspires me, that drives me, and that contributes to Jamaica in one way or another.
Wow. Now, you have two sons who are grown, but as a parent and being so successful in your field, have you ever, persuade them to choose a similar path? And, how do you parent with what you have achieved and seeing the direction that they're going in?
They're both individuals. And I have my eldest son, actually, when he was about 13, I took him to visit a friend and he saw a computer. And from that moment, he fell in love with computers, and he has never changed. He spent the next 17 years or more, 20 years pursuing computer science, and today he is that's what he does for a living. And he is, whilst he's interested in finance and investments, computer science is his love and his passion. I've never tried to sway him from that, and he doesn't expect that I would disrespect his interest in that. My younger son, similarly, he's more of a kind of business-oriented type of person, and he's taken up that mantle very successful, and I'm really proud of how he has evolved into the world of investment, and he's in the Airbnb business and all of that. So very happy about that. Again, I had no predetermined path for him, and I don't want to influence him. Whatever he wants to do is what he needs to do. Follow his passion.
And just like that, now, help us to understand, how do we create generational wealth?
I think through encouraging responsibility. So whatever little that I do have, all my family knows of it, and they participate in it. I have meetings, almost like a company, and I involve them in it. They fully transparent with them about what it is that we have and how I am managing it. I encourage them to be building their portfolio too. But the important thing is that they're sitting right beside my wife and myself, seeing what is happening and participating in discussions about it. And I'm hoping that gives them experience to be successful in their own portfolios, as well as when they have responsibility for our portfolio.
You know, people often talk about commitment and drive, but how important is it to have ethics?
Oh, vitally important. I mean, what's the point of being unethical and people disrespecting you on the road or don't think highly of you? I mean, I would not even give a moment's thought to doing something unethical because I fear that my reputation would be shattered. And as I said before, that is number one of importance to me.
Mm-hmm. And you know, you have a wealth of knowledge and information. Are you mentoring anyone at the moment?
I don't know that I'm a very good mentor.
Why?
Only, only maybe by accident. But anyone who asks me for advice, I do give it openly. Um, but I don't have anybody that is in a program
Mm.
that I am mentoring. But people ask me lots of times, and I very openly and freely give whatever advice I can.
How vital is service to Richard Byles?
Service to country, I love it. I, I I yearn for the day when Jamaica can really begin to fulfill its potential. For too long, we have been just kind of mediocre, knocking around. We need to find a formula to unleash that potential. And I would love to be around and to participate in on that occasion when we start to really see our potential come to fruition.
Looking back at your journey, is there anything you'd have done differently?
No, I don't have any deep regret that lives with me. Um, uh, Really, what I do have is a lot of satisfaction that many of the breaks that came my way, and I'm very appreciative of that. The people who helped me along the way. And believe you me, there are no successful persons that can claim they didn't get help. Everybody gets help of one kind or another.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very appreciative of the persons in my life who have been of assistance to me. I don't think of the regrets. Of course, there are decisions that, if you had gone this way, it might have gone better. But those are minor compared to the successes and the good things that have happened to me in my life.
And finally, Mr. Byles, to attain success, what are the three crucial steps we should take?
Mm. Well, you really put me on the line with that one. But for me, having a passion for what you do is really important. And I would say that staying in the moment, that is achieving today what you have to achieve. Thinking way down the road, maybe it has its place, but getting done today what you need to get done is really important because it lays the foundation for you to do better the day after and better again the day after that. So I've kind of lived a life of uh, being passionate with my jobs. And between that passion and commitment to working hard to achieving, I think that that is a formula that everybody can be successful with.
Mr. Richard Byles, thank you so much for taking time out to talk with us and sharing your journey, your rich story, and dropping some gems. We truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kashima. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Tris,